My fiancée invited her ex to our engagement party and claimed she owed me no loyalty, so I walked away. And what followed left everyone stunned. I am a 31-year-old male, a civil engineer. I have been with my fiancée, Naomi, a 29-year-old female, for 4 years. We got engaged 8 months ago, and everything has been pretty solid. Or so I thought. We were planning this engagement party. Nothing too fancy, just family and friends at a nice venue downtown that she picked out. Everything was going smoothly. We were sitting at my kitchen table going over the guest list. She had her laptop out making the invitations while I was double-checking the headcount for catering. Normal couple stuff, right? Then she casually dropped this on me. "Oh, I am inviting Dan, too." I looked up from my notes. "Dan, your ex? Dan?" She did not even pause typing. "Yes, he is important to me. He was there for me before you were." Then she gave me this look, you know, the one where they are testing you. And said, "You are not insecure right now. Listen, I am not some jealous psycho. I do not go through her phone. I do not care if she has friends. Whatever. But inviting your ex to your engagement party, that is like bringing a knife to a birthday party level of inappropriate." I kept my voice calm and said, "I am uncomfortable with that." Wrong answer, apparently. She rolled her eyes like I just asked her to explain quantum physics. "This is not your party to control, Ezra. I do not owe you loyalty. We are not even married yet. Stop acting like I belong to you, dude." My fiancée, the woman I am supposed to marry in 6 months, just told me she does not owe me loyalty. I sat there for a second trying to process that. Like, what do you even say to that? We are engaged. We have been together for 4 years. We have a joint bank account and she is on my lease, but she does not owe me loyalty because we are not married yet. I took a breath and said, "Do whatever you think is appropriate." She smiled like she had won some kind of victory and went back to her typing. "Great. I knew you would understand. Dan is really excited to catch up with everyone." The rest of the evening was weird as hell. She was texting someone constantly, I am assuming Dan, and giggling at her phone every few minutes. Not just smiling, but full-on teenage girl giggles. When I asked who she was talking to, she got defensive and said it was just work stuff. At 11 p.m. on a Saturday, right? I went to bed early that night, but could not sleep. I just kept thinking about that phrase, "I do not owe you loyalty." Like, what kind of person says that to their fiancé? If you do not owe me loyalty now, when exactly does that kick in? After we sign the marriage certificate? After the honeymoon? Never. Here is the thing that really got me. She did not even try to make me feel better about it. "No, Dan and I are just friends now, or I want you to meet him so you will see there is nothing there. Just straight up, I do not owe you loyalty and you cannot control me." The next morning, she was all cheerful, making breakfast and talking about party decorations like nothing happened. Meanwhile, I am sitting there wondering if I even know this person. "I think we should do blue and silver for the colors," she said, flipping pancakes. "Dan always said I looked good in blue. Dan always said, not I think or I look good in blue. Dan always said." I just nodded and drank my coffee. But something had shifted in me that night. When someone tells you they do not owe you loyalty, you better believe them, and you better start planning accordingly. My sister called me that Thursday and asked how wedding planning was going. I told her about the Dan situation, and she went quiet for a minute. "Ezra," she said finally, "that is not normal. You know that, right?" "I do not know anymore," I said. She made me feel like I was being controlling for not wanting her ex at our engagement party. "You are not controlling. You are being a normal human being with normal boundaries. What is next? Is she going to invite him to the bachelor party?" That made me laugh, but it was not funny because honestly, I was not sure she would not suggest it. The weird part is I was not even mad anymore. I was just tired. Tired of feeling like I was walking on eggshells. Tired of second-guessing myself. Tired of feeling like I was competing with a ghost. But here is the thing about being an engineer. You learn to think systematically. When you have a structural problem, you do not just slap some duct tape on it and hope for the best. You analyze the whole system, figure out where the weak points are, and either fix them or build around them. Right then, I had a problem that needed solving. I pulled up our joint wedding account first. $15,000 were sitting there, money we had been saving for months. I had put in $12,000. She had contributed $3,000. The bank records were all right there in black and white. It seemed fair to take back what was mine, right? I initiated the transfer online. It would take a couple of days to process, but that was fine. By the time she noticed, it would be done. Then I started canceling everything in my name: venue, photographer, caterer, the works. By Saturday morning, The day of the party, I had everything handled on my end, bank account separated, major contracts dealt with. I even found a decent apartment across town that was closer to my office. Anyway, she woke up that morning singing, actually singing in the shower like she was in some romantic comedy. Meanwhile, I am drinking coffee and running through my mental checklist one more time. I am so excited for tonight, she said, practically bouncing into the kitchen in her robe. It is going to be absolutely perfect. Perfect. That is one way to put it. I am sure it will be exactly what you were looking for, I said. She kissed my cheek, first time she had done that in weeks, and started making breakfast, humming some song I did not recognize. Probably something Dan had introduced her to. I finished my coffee and went to get dressed. Black suit, white shirt, simple tie, nothing too fancy, but I wanted to look good for what was probably going to be my last public appearance as Naomi's fiancé. The venue looked nice when we got there. Everyone was having a good time, making small talk, congratulating us on the engagement, normal party stuff. I was actually starting to relax a little. Then Dan showed up. This guy walked in like he owned the place, tall, fake tan, wearing one of those shirts that tries too hard to look casual, but probably costs more than my car payment. He has this smug smile and is carrying a gift bag. Not for both of us, just for Naomi. She practically ran over when she saw him. "Danny," she squealed, and they hugged for way too long, like awkwardly long. Long enough that people started noticing. He handed her the gift, and she opened it right there in front of everyone. It was some necklace with a little pendant. She got all tear-eyed looking at it. "You remember everything," she said, touching the pendant. "Of course I do, Nana," he said back. Nana. That is what he used to call her. She told me once that she hated that nickname. Guess that was another lie. The rest of the party, Dan was basically glued to her side, hand on her back when they were talking to people, whispering jokes in her ear, bringing her drinks. Meanwhile, I am standing around like some kind of party decoration. My mom came up to me at one point. "Honey, who is that man with Naomi?" "Her ex-boyfriend," I said. Mom gave me this look. "Her ex at your engagement party?" "Yeah." She said he was important to her. Mom did not say anything else, but I could see the wheels turning. She is not stupid. About an hour in, I was getting myself a soda when I overheard Naomi's friends, Jessica and Rachel, talking by the bathroom. They did not see me around the corner. "I cannot believe she actually invited him," Jessica said. "She told me she is not even sure she loves Ezra," Rachel whispered back. "She said Dan makes her feel alive again." "What is she going to do?" "I do not know, but she has been texting him nonstop for weeks. This whole engagement thing, I think she is having second thoughts." I stood there for a minute, letting that sink in. Then I walked back to the party, grabbed the microphone from the DJ, and waited for the room to quiet down. "Hey everyone, thanks for coming tonight," I said. The room got silent real quick. I just wanted to say something. I looked right at Naomi, who was standing next to Dan with this confused look on her face. To Naomi, "May you find exactly what you are looking for because clearly it is not me." Then I handed the mic back to the DJ and walked out. Did not run, did not make a scene, just walked. Behind me, I could hear people starting to murmur and Naomi calling my name. But I kept walking to my car, got in, and drove home. My phone started buzzing before I even got out of the parking lot. First a text, then another, then it just started ringing nonstop. I turned the ringer off and drove home in silence. When I pulled into my driveway, I sat in the car for a minute, just breathing. The house looked the same as when we had left 2 hours ago, but everything felt different now, like I was looking at someone else's life. I went inside and sat on my couch. My phone was lighting up like a Christmas tree on the coffee table. Texts, missed calls, voicemails, all from Naomi. I could see the previews scrolling by. "Where did you go, Ezra? Please come back. Everyone is asking where you are. This is embarrassing." I turned the phone face down and went to change out of my suit. The voicemail started around 11 p.m. I could hear my phone vibrating against the coffee table from the bedroom, but I did not check them. Whatever she had to say, I was not ready to hear it. I actually slept pretty well that night, better than I had in weeks. Guess that is what happens when you stop pretending everything is fine. Sunday morning, I was making coffee when someone started pounding on my front door. Not knocking, pounding like the house was on fire or someone was dying. The sound echoed through the whole house and probably woke up my neighbors. I looked through the peephole and there was Naomi, still in her party dress from last night. Hair looking like she had been running her hands through it all night. Makeup smeared under her eyes, mascara streaked down her cheeks. She looked like she had been up crying since the moment I walked out. I opened the door and she immediately pushed past me into the house, already yelling before she was fully inside. "Are you serious right now? Is this some kind of prank?" "So, I invited my ex. What is the big deal? You are really throwing everything away over that?" She was pacing around my living room like a caged animal, gesturing wildly with her hands. Her voice was hoarse, probably from crying all night. The expensive dress she had picked out special for the party was wrinkled and had what looked like wine stains on it. I leaned against the door frame and just watched her fall apart. 4 years together, and this was the first time I was really seeing who she was underneath all the charm and polish. This frantic, desperate person who could not handle not getting her way. She kept ranting about how I had embarrassed her, how people did not know what to do after I left, how her parents were mortified, like the real problem was that I had made her look bad, not that she had invited her ex to our engagement party and spent the night hanging all over him. I stayed calm and told her the truth. She was the one who threw everything away when she made it clear who she really wanted. That just made her more frantic. She started doing that thing where people try to rewrite history in real time. Suddenly, Dan was just a friend. The constant texting was nothing. The gift was just being nice. All the stuff she had been rubbing in my face for weeks was now being minimized like it never happened. But then I brought up what I had overheard her friends saying about her not being sure she loved me, about Dan making her feel alive again. Her whole face went white when she realized I had heard that conversation. She tried to backtrack, said it was taken out of context, begged me to work through it, started crying those big, ugly sobs that make your whole body shake. The kind of crying that is more about panic than actual sadness. I asked her to just be honest for once. That is when the mask finally came off completely. She told me I would regret this, that she and Dan were perfect together, that they always had been. Then she grabbed her purse and headed for the door. "Wait," I said. "You need to come get your stuff." She turned around and for a second I thought she might try to argue about that, too. "Fine, I will be back tomorrow," she said. "Bring someone with you," I said. "I do not want this turning into another scene." She slammed the door hard enough to rattle the windows. I spent that evening going through her things, just wanting to get it over with and move on with my life. Then I got to her desk drawer and found the photos, pictures of her and Dan from when they were dating. Not just one or two old ones you might keep for memories. I am talking about a whole stack of them. Dan with his arm around her at some beach. Naomi laughing at something he said at a restaurant. The two of them at what looked like a wedding, all dressed up and looking way too comfortable together. But that was not even the worst part. Under the photos were letters, actual handwritten letters from Dan. Postmarked from the last few months while we were engaged and planning our wedding. I opened one and immediately wished I had not. "I cannot believe you are getting married." It started. "I still think about what we had together. You were the one that got away, nah." Another one. "Seeing your engagement photos on social media messed me up for days. You look happy, but do you really love him the way you loved me?" There were 5 of them in total, getting progressively more intense. Dan basically begging her to reconsider, telling her she was making a mistake, that they belonged together. She had kept every single one. The last letter was dated 2 weeks before our engagement party. "I know you invited me and I know what that means. We both know this marriage is not right for you. Let us talk when I see you." I sat there staring at these letters, realizing the whole damn situation had been planned from the beginning. This was not some innocent friendship or coincidental reconnection. They had been scheming behind my back for months. I threw everything into boxes and bags, let her sort through her own mess when she came to get it. My phone buzzed with a text from my sister asking if I was okay after whatever happened at the party. I told her I would call her later, and turned the phone off. For the first time since this whole thing started, I felt like I could breathe. No more pretending not to notice the obvious. No more competing with a ghost for my own fiancée's attention. The funny thing was, I was not even mad anymore. I was relieved. Better to find out who someone really is before you marry them. Naomi had just shown me exactly who she was. Someone who thought loyalty was optional, who would rather chase excitement than build something stable, who would throw away 4 years the moment something shinier came along. I spent the rest of Sunday doing normal stuff. Around dinner time, I finally listened to her voicemails, 12 of them, starting angry and getting progressively more desperate as the night went on. The last one was from around 6 a.m., her voice hoarse and shaky, begging me to call her back so we could fix this. But there was not anything to fix. You cannot fix someone who does not want to be with you. You cannot negotiate your way back into someone's heart when they have already given it to someone else. I deleted all the messages and went back to my normal Sunday evening routine. Best decision I ever made. Monday morning, I woke up at my normal time, made coffee, and went to work like nothing had happened. It felt weird driving to the office knowing I was technically single again, but also kind of freeing. No more texts asking when I would be home. No more having to check in about dinner plans. No more walking on eggshells. My coworkers did not know about the engagement party disaster yet, so it was just a normal day. Around 6 p.m., she showed up with her dad. The poor guy looked embarrassed as hell, like he knew exactly what his daughter had done and did not approve. He had always been decent to me. Worked construction for 30 years, a straightforward guy who did not put up with nonsense. "Ezra," he said when I opened the door, "sorry about all this." "It is fine. Her stuff is in boxes by the door." It took about 20 minutes to load everything into his truck. I did not mention the letters or photos. I figured she would find them when she unpacked and realized I knew exactly how deep her betrayal went. Naomi did not say a word the whole time, just directed her dad where to put things. When they were done, she walked back to the door. "This is really it?" she asked. "You are not going to change your mind? This is really it?" I said. She looked like she might cry again, but her dad was already in the truck waiting. She got in without another word, and they drove off. The following week, things started getting interesting. Tuesday morning, I was at my desk when I got a call from an unknown number. "Ezra, this is Patricia, Naomi's mom." I almost hung up, but Patricia had always been decent to me. A nice lady who taught middle school for 30 years before retiring. Not her fault her daughter turned out to be a train wreck. "I wanted to call and apologize for what happened at your party and for how Naomi has been behaving," she said. "I was not expecting that." "You do not need to apologize for her choices," I said. "Yes, I do," she said. "We raised her better than that. What she did was completely inappropriate and frankly embarrassing for our whole family." She went on to tell me that she had had a long talk with Naomi about respect and commitment and how you do not invite your ex to your engagement party. Apparently, it had not gone well. She kept saying you were being controlling and that Dan was just a friend. "But I have been married for 35 years, Ezra. I know what it looks like when someone's heart is not fully committed." Before we hung up, she said something that stuck with me. "You did not deserve any of that." She ruined the best thing she ever had. That same week, I started hearing things through mutual friends. Nothing dramatic, just the usual gossip that spreads when people break up publicly. Most of it was people asking what happened since I had left pretty abruptly. And Naomi was not giving anyone straight answers. My friend James, who had been at the party, texted me Thursday night. "Dude, that was wild. On Saturday, Naomi spent the rest of the night crying, and Dan just disappeared. What is the real story?" I gave him the basics without getting into all the personal stuff. He responded with, "Wow, that is rough." But honestly, the whole Dan thing was weird to watch. Everyone was talking about it. Turns out I was not the only one who thought the whole situation was inappropriate. Multiple people had commented to each other about how strange it was that her ex was there, how he was acting way too familiar with her, how uncomfortable it made everyone feel. The really interesting news came Friday afternoon. My sister called me laughing. "You need to hear this," she said. "Jessica just texted me. Dan dumped Naomi yesterday." I almost choked on my coffee. "What?" Apparently, he told her he was not looking for anything serious and that maybe they could hang out sometime. Classic player move. So, let me get this straight. Naomi threw away a 4-year relationship and engagement for a guy who was not even interested in dating her. She had been building up this whole fantasy in her head about getting back together with Dan, and he was just messing with her for fun. According to Jessica, Naomi had been calling in sick to work and crying constantly, saying she made a huge mistake. I felt nothing. Maybe I should have felt bad for her or vindicated or angry, but mostly I just felt tired, like this whole drama was finally over and I could move on with my life. Meanwhile, the gossip mill kept churning. Word was getting around about what had happened at the engagement party. And apparently, it was not reflecting well on Naomi's professional reputation. She worked in PR, where image and relationships matter a lot. Having your engagement fall apart publicly because you invited your ex does not exactly scream good judgment to potential clients. I heard through James, who knew someone at her company, that she had lost 2 major clients who decided they did not want to work with someone whose personal life was such a mess. Her boss had also quietly moved her to a smaller team handling less important accounts. Turns out being a public relations representative who cannot handle her own public relations is kind of a career liability. Who would have thought? I spent that weekend apartment hunting and found a decent 1-bedroom place about 10 minutes closer to work. The rent was a little higher than what I had been paying, but with the promotion, I could easily afford it. Sunday evening, I was packing up some of my stuff when I got a text from an unknown number. At first, I thought it might be Naomi trying to reach me from a different phone, but it turned out to be Dan. "Hey, man. Sorry about everything that went down. Naomi told me you guys broke up. It did not mean for things to get complicated. I stared at that text for a minute. This guy had spent weeks trying to break up my engagement, succeeded, then dumped my ex-fiancée when he got what he wanted, and now he was apologizing like it was all just some innocent misunderstanding. I deleted the message without responding. Some people are not worth the energy it takes to tell them what you really think. 2 months after the engagement party, I was settled into my new apartment and honestly loving life. I had been hitting the gym regularly for the first time in years. Nothing crazy, just basic lifting and cardio 3 times a week. Turns out when you are not spending every evening walking on eggshells around your partner, you have time for things like taking care of yourself. I was not dating anyone and was not really looking either. After 4 years with someone who turned out to be completely different than I thought, I was enjoying just being by myself for a while, learning what I actually liked to do when I was not constantly negotiating with someone else about everything. Life was simple, predictable, drama-free. I should have known it would not last. Tuesday evening in late November, I was getting home from the gym when I saw a familiar car parked in the visitor section of my apartment complex, a silver Honda Civic with a dent in the rear bumper from when Naomi had backed into a mailbox 2 years ago. My stomach dropped. I had not heard from her in over 1 month. Not since those desperate voicemails the week after the party. I grabbed my gym bag and headed for the elevator, hoping she had not seen me. No such luck. As soon as I hit the call button, I heard her voice behind me calling my name. I turned around. She looked different, thinner, like she had not been eating much. Dark circles under her eyes that makeup could not quite hide. Her hair was shorter than I remembered, cut in one of those dramatic styles women get when they are trying to reinvent themselves after a breakup. She asked if we could talk. Against my better judgment, I let her come up to my apartment. She looked around like she was seeing a museum exhibit, commenting on how nice the place was. I stayed standing while she sat down on my couch without being invited. The whole performance was predictable. She had made a huge mistake, the biggest of her life. Dan had used her. Never wanted a relationship. Just wanted to see if he could break us up. When he succeeded, he got bored and moved on to someone else. She started crying. Not the angry tears from that morning at my old house, but the quiet, defeated kind that made her whole body slump. She had thrown away everything good in her life for someone who did not even care about her. 4 years together, our future, all our plans, gone for nothing. Now she wanted to make it right. We could work through this, could not we? We were good together. We were happy. We were planning a wedding, for crying out loud. I reminded her about the loyalty comment, about her telling me Dan was better than me, about her choosing him publicly in front of everyone who mattered to us. Each point made her flinch like I was hitting her with a physical blow. She had an excuse for everything. She was confused. Dan was in her head. She was angry and lashing out. People make mistakes, she said. That is what love is supposed to be about, forgiveness and second chances. I looked at her sitting there on my couch, crying over the consequences of her own choices, and felt absolutely nothing. No anger, no sadness, no urge to comfort her or make her feel better. Just emptiness where all those feelings used to be. The whole thing was pathetic, really. She had only figured out I was the love of her life after her first choice kicked her to the curb. Now she wanted to come back to the backup plan, go to counseling, do whatever it took to fix things. When I told her no, she looked genuinely shocked, like she could not believe I would not take her back after everything she had put me through. She tried the guilt trip, 4 years together, and I would not even try to work things out. I explained that there was nothing to work out. She had shown me who she really was, and I believed her. She did not make a mistake. She made a choice, a series of choices, actually. And now she got to live with the consequences. She grabbed her purse and headed for the door, then turned back with one final attempt at manipulation. "You are going to regret this," she said. "I was the best thing that ever happened to you." "No," I told her as I opened the door. "You leaving me was the best thing that ever happened to me." She left without another word. I closed the door, locked it, and went back to my normal Tuesday evening routine. Made dinner, watched the news, went to bed at a reasonable hour. For the first time since this whole thing started, I felt completely at peace with my decision. There is something liberating about having someone show their true color so clearly that you never have to wonder what if about the relationship. The funny part was how obvious her game plan had been. Wait for me to get over the initial hurt, then show up looking vulnerable and remorseful, expecting me to welcome her back with open arms, like I was some kind of emotional doormat who had just been waiting around for her to realize her mistake. But I was not the same guy she had left 2 months ago. That guy might have taken her back, might have convinced himself that everyone deserves a second chance. Might have been grateful just to have someone familiar in his life again. This guy knew better. This guy had learned that when someone shows you they think loyalty is optional, you believe them, and you do not give them another chance to prove it again. I spent the next few days wondering if she would try again. Show up at my office, send letters, get mutual friends to plead her case. But nothing came. Maybe she finally understood that some bridges cannot be rebuilt once you burn them down. Or maybe she just found someone else to play backup plan for her next relationship disaster. Either way, it was not my problem anymore. The best part was realizing I did not miss her at all. I missed the idea of having a partner, sure, but I did not miss her specifically. What I had now was better. Peace, stability, the freedom to build my life exactly the way I wanted it. And if someone came along who actually appreciated that life and wanted to be part of it, great. But I was not settling for less ever again. Some lessons are worth learning the hard way. 6 months after the engagement party disaster, I was doing better than I had ever been. Work was going great. The promotion had led to even bigger projects, and I was building a reputation as someone who could handle complex structural challenges. I met someone, her name is Tiffany, who worked as a teacher at the elementary school near my office. We had met at a coffee shop when she was grading papers, and I was working on some project plans during lunch. She seemed normal, no drama, no ex-boyfriend baggage, just a regular person who liked movies and hiking and did not feel the need to test my boundaries every 5 minutes. Saturday afternoon, we were at the big supermarket downtown. We were in the pasta aisle when I saw her, Naomi, standing about 20 feet away, holding a basket and talking to some guy I did not recognize. Tall, decently looking, wearing an expensive jacket that probably cost more than my monthly car payment. My first instinct was to turn around and go the other way. I did not need this drama in my life, and I definitely did not want Tiffany getting dragged into whatever scene Naomi might try to create. But it was too late. She had already spotted me. I steered the cart toward a different shelf, hoping Naomi would just mind her own business. No such luck. She called my name across the aisle like we were old friends, then walked over with her new guy trailing behind, looking confused about why they were approaching strangers. Naomi looked Tiffany up and down and made some comment about how I had already met someone, that it did not take long. I introduced them politely, but Naomi ignored Tiffany completely. Then she launched into her whole performance. She had met someone, too, this guy, Simon, who was standing behind her, looking increasingly uncomfortable. But she could not just leave it at that. I forgot to introduce you properly, Simon, she said with that sharp edge I remembered from our worst fights. This is my ex, Ezra. We used to date. Well, we were going to get married until he decided to throw everything away just because he is an insecure person who cannot handle his girlfriend having male friends. The grocery store suddenly felt very quiet. Tiffany's hand found mine and squeezed gently. Not possessive, just supportive. Simon looked from Naomi to me and back again, clearly having no idea what he had walked into. When I mentioned that she had invited her ex to our engagement party and spent the night hanging all over him, Simon's expression changed completely. What is wrong with you? He asked Naomi. You are actually insane. He walked away without another word, leaving his basket right there in the middle of the aisle. We could see him through the store windows, getting into his car, and driving off. Naomi stood there for a second, watching him leave. Then she turned back to me with tears starting to form in her eyes. Well, you are happy now, are not you, Ezra? I looked at this woman who had been the center of my world for 4 years, who I had planned to marry and have kids with and grow old with, who had thrown it all away for a guy who dumped her the second he got what he wanted, and now she had just sabotaged another relationship because she could not handle seeing me move on. I am not happy or unhappy about what just happened, I said. That is between you and him. You turned him against me. I told him the truth. What he did with that information was his choice. Tiffany tugged gently on my arm. Maybe we should go, she said quietly. As we walked toward the checkout, I could hear Naomi behind us, but I did not turn around. Whatever else she had to say, it was not my problem anymore. So, Tiffany said as we loaded our groceries onto the conveyor belt, that was your ex. That was her. She seems intense, I laughed. That is one word for it. Do you want to talk about it? I thought about that as we waited in line. Did I want to rehash the whole story, explain about Dan and the engagement party and all the drama that had led to this moment? Not really, I said. It is old news, ancient history. As we walked to the car, I realized something had shifted. For months, the idea of running into Naomi had been this thing I dreaded. Some part of me had been worried about how I would react, whether I would feel anything, whether it would bring back all the hurt and anger from when everything fell apart. But now that it had happened, I felt nothing. She was just some person I used to know who could not handle seeing me happy. Her problems were not my problems anymore. Driving home, I realized this was probably the last time I would ever see Naomi. She had shown Simon exactly who she was in about 30 seconds, and he had made the smart choice. I did not feel bad for her. She had made her bed, and now she got to lie in it. The best part was that Tiffany had seen the whole thing and had not run screaming. If anything, she seemed more interested in getting to know me better. Turns out some people actually appreciate stability and honesty in a relationship. Who would have thought? The moral of this whole story: when someone shows you they do not think they owe you loyalty, believe them, and then show them what it looks like when you do not owe them your future. Sometimes the best revenge really is just living well and not looking back.